JP poll time is once again upon us. Not a ranking system. I don't know why. I just shout into the wind and explain this, but I will once more. This is just favorability on a neutral field. Has nothing to do with the rankings. There's no merit involved here. It's just future facing. So we're not looking in the rearview mirror. We just care about what would happen moving forward. And power ratings are what they are. Let's take a look at 25 through 21. Guess who's back? Florida's back. The Florida Gators are rated again. Welcome back, guys. They've got Georgia next. The University of Arizona is number 24. I cannot believe I just said that sentence. The University of Arizona under Jedd Fisch is power rated in the JP poll. First time, I believe, ever. And no one thought this would happen this year. They've got Oregon State, UCLA, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona State left. Let's see what happens. Congrats already. I know the season's not over. They haven't accomplished anything they have on this show. TCU, inexplicably, is still in the top 25. I don't know what the model sees. I have no idea. I would absolutely pick Duke over TCU today. So this is sort of a me versus the model thing. But I am not a tamperer. I am not going to tamper with this. TCU's at 23rd, Utah 22. Miami didn't really drop because your minus turnover performance is terrible, but it's not going to drop you a whole lot. The model thinks there's a lot of randomness in turnovers, which there are. We go top 20. Who's 20, Colin? Yeah, Ole Miss is 20. So Ole Miss, UCLA, USC are sort of in the same spots they were last week. USC didn't drop a whole lot because they were essentially -7 in turnovers, and we didn't think highly of USC to begin with. So where everyone else plummeted USC, we kind of already had them. So we feel pretty justified. Clemson's still 17. A&M, I know you're going to struggle with that. They're 16th, even though they have 3 losses. It is about what point spreads would be tomorrow. A&M's losses are to the number 6 team, number 14 team, and number 21 team. 2 of those have been by 1 possession. It's just, they're not a terrible team. And talent is baked into this. And an ultra-talented team that's had a couple of close losses to top 25 competition is not going to plummet out of this thing. It's not the AP. This is not what this is. What else is notable there? Not really anything. Let's move on, Colin. Top 15, Oregon State unchanged. Tennessee pretty much the same as they were last week. Notre Dame as well. Now, the model is still really high on LSU. It's the reason I keep talking about LSU the way I do. The model keeps screaming, don't give up on them. Don't give up on them. Played probably their best game of the year against Auburn. They got Army this week, and then I think a bye, and then they play Alabama. Let's see what happens. North Carolina's 11. We already had North Carolina really high, so there was no reason to change them. They won big, but it was a lot of plus turnover, so model takes that into account. Top 10 time. I thought it was really interesting that Bill Connolly put his full numbers out this morning because it helped to reinforce something I've been saying. So people see us put FSU at number 10, and they think it's some anti-FSU bias sort of thing. Like, I don't care one way or the other. I would much prefer FSU to win because it's good for the show, if you want my honest thoughts. My whole point in pointing out Connolly's ratings this morning is he has them number 11. It's not just an outlier rogue model opinion that FSU is not a top 5 team power rating wise. If I were an AP voter, I'd have them up there. I would absolutely rank FSU above Alabama. Power ratings wise, the model would favor Alabama if they played them tomorrow. That's all that's about. Penn State is 9. Oklahoma is at 8. Washington bumped up 1 point, but because of fluctuation around them, they stayed at number 7. Bama's at number 6. Not a lot changed 10 through 6 last week. Top 5. And let's once again address something. Oregon, I think, dropped a spot. So Oregon and Washington both increased their power rating. Oregon increased 1/4 point. Washington increased a full point. So both of them went up from last week. Oregon is still ahead of Washington. You know what I'm saying. You know what that means. Neutral field model would slightly lean Oregon tomorrow. Not by much. Like fractions, not by much. Texas is still ahead of Oklahoma. Let me go back to Conley. Not that either of these is the end-all, be-all, but I mean, Bill Connelly's as respected as it gets in this profession at doing the whole math and numbers and power ratings thing. He's got Texas above Oklahoma. Doesn't mean you negate the result a couple of weeks ago, nor does it mean Texas will beat them if they play in the Big 12 championship game. It just means if they played the game today, Texas would be favored, and some people kind of gear their models towards that. So Michigan's number one is the big takeaway here. New number one. It's the first time Michigan's been number one. Not only that, there is a 1.5 point gap between Michigan and the field. And just out of curiosity, I went back to last year around this time, and I always love to look at the 10-point gap. So if I subtract 10 points off of the number one team, how far do I have to go down before I find a team they'd be favored by 10 points over? You got to go all the way down to number 14 right now. The 10-point gap gets us all the way from Michigan to Tennessee. Last year, it was like the top 6 teams, and that was it. So there was a very, very clear tier one, and then there was a huge drop-off. We don't necessarily have that right now, which means October's already been crazy, about to be insane when a bunch of these teams play each other. November's going to be out of this world, insane. Like I said, Oregon gained a quarter point. I think I said half point. A quarter point, and Washington gained a full point. 1.5 point gap between Michigan and Georgia right now. So Michigan minus 1.5 against Georgia if they played neutral field according to the model.